There's a fan on here that said, "Who did you ever beat?" Well, you were a bouncer in Baltimore, and for those unfamiliar with Baltimore, it's a pretty rough town. So I imagine if you were a bouncer there for any period of time, you'd have to have some type of fighting ability.
Oh, I've been involved in probably well over 200 fights in my lifetime. I got scars to prove it, believe me. And I never ever intentionally set out to hurt anybody. It was always being in control of the situation, but I have been involved in riots. I recall a time I had one bouncer working with me, and we were in the middle of over 30 people fighting. I'll never ever forget it. It was one of the bloodiest scenes. I had to go after it was over with, and I wasn't seriously injured, but he and I were back to back trying to control all these people and throwing people around and having to defend ourselves. And when it was all over with, um, I was put into an ambulance for them to wash the blood off me. It wasn't my blood, it was the blood of others. I had to be cleaned of that. And that wasn't the only time that happened, but I never ever intentionally set out to hurt anybody. It was always trying to control the situation. But boy, oh boy, have I ever been in situations again to where, I could have been seriously injured or killed. And so I could write a book just on those 22 plus years in that business, in that environment. And you're right, Devin. Baltimore is one of the toughest towns, and I've been to every town in this, every major city in America, um, and I could tell you with absolute certainty that Baltimore is one of the toughest places, and with some of the best fighters that I've ever come across in my lifetime. And I worked in one bar in Southwest Baltimore, and this place was so bad that when the fights would happen, and I had, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 or 7 guys. I always was the head of security wherever I was. And so I would a lot of times take people with me that had worked for me before, um, into the establishment. And that particular establishment, the fights would spill out into the street. And this was an area called Washington Boulevard. And so the Baltimore Ravens and the Baltimore Orioles, their stadiums are right down the street from where this area is. And the fights would get so big because people would come out of their houses and they would join in the fight. So it would stop traffic up on both sides of Washington Boulevard. Now you have 20, 30 people out there brawling in the middle of Washington Boulevard. I have assisted police many times at that bar and other facilities in capturing criminals, fighting with the police against some of these criminals. Um, just absolutely astounding when I think about some of these experiences. So I had a lot of friends that were Baltimore City police officers. It's Maryland State police officers. You name it. Those guys would be off duty and they would come to see me. In these establishments. That's the level of respect and rapport that I had with these individuals. Just absolutely amazing.
I could only imagine. We never had the gun incidents here in Canada, but I dealt with a lot in my 18 years of bouncing, and thank God I have YouTube now, so I don't have to do that anymore.